Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.11, and we're playing as Germany. Okay, we have a couple of national decisions here. One, Danziger War, and the other, the Ribbentrop Pact. Okay. Now, this will improve relations with the Soviet Union, reduce our neutrality, and we'll get a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. And we'll disrupt relations with the Baltic states. And, Western allies will also lose their neutrality. We're going to take this now. Now, historically, it was, I think, about 6 days later, Germany invades Poland. We're not going to do that. We're going to sit on this. I just wanted to fire this to take another step along, make sure it doesn't disappear on us. I think it might disappear at the start of 1940, the possibility of firing that off. Now, as you might tell, we're already in September here, and I am not, like, about ready to jump in the war with Poland. Not that I can't defeat Poland, it's, excuse me, very much more, why go to war with Poland right now? Right now we need more supplies. We are producing a lot more than we are currently using, but okay, and okay. We'll sell you guys supplies because we need the money. That's partly from being in negative supply territory, I think. Oh, we lost that already. That's a bummer. Mobile unit trading has advanced. Very good. Let's stop this and move it to some more structural type. Let's mass events. We want to go for that. I may eventually do the giant infrastructure projects, even though it's not going to cost us a project, just to improve ICs. We don't need improving of ICs at the moment, though, so we're not going to do that now. And since, how do I put this? We know something that Hitler doesn't know. Obviously a lot, but we know there's going to be a war with Britain once we declare war on Poland. So why declare war on Poland? Well, to kick off the war, yeah, I get that. But why kick off the war as winter is approaching? Why not kick off the war in spring? I'm producing a lot more supplies than needed. But now they're back. Okay, well, we're going to produce even more. It was lowered because of going down here. If we're going to go for a springtime summer offensive against France, why start this now? Now, if we aren't going, and I thought about it, and I still am vaguely thinking about it, but thinking not to do it. I have thought of the idea of waiting until, what if we waited until 42 to go to war? And the biggest problem is Hearts of Iron 4 at its core, plus, I mean, sorry, 3, which is what we're playing, Hearts of Iron 3, as well as Black Ice and Third Reich Events, are not designed to do peace that long. Not that we can't do it, but, you know, a lot of the events are based on the wars happening, and I don't think of anything particular that, oh, I don't know, is wrong if you stay at peace. I'm waiting on this, which I don't like doing. So if we were to stay at peace, what would be different? I say nothing wrong, meaning nothing, I don't think actually breaks, but, well, Germany would be, instead of like being able to build more infantry divisions and build more you know, aircraft and whatnot, I'd be having you make more super architecture programs and doing a lot of other things that would disrupt your war production. Meaning, yeah, you would be able to continue building some of the you know, Kriegsmarine ships and have a better navy and a lot of that kind of stuff, but to really sort of make it fair on everybody, there would be a lot of including a fair challenge for you, there would be a lot of other developments going on in Germany that are not war related. We're not really using that much supplies. It's just being put into the supply chain for whatever reason, and then deciding, oh, we really don't need it in the supply chain, and it's being sent back to you know, the capital. And I think it's paying supply taxes, maybe on both ways, but at least going out, because I don't know how it goes back, whether it goes back instantly or it has to walk back, as it were. Okay, mechanized infantry, motor infantry. Okay, so we want to do that. And mover tracks and suspension. Okay, so the next one we'll get that as well. So that's sort of kind of things that why I'm not going to just wait that long. It'd be a fascinating mod to build. I guess, well, there's a fair amount of information there, but it'd be a lot of speculation of what's going on in the world. We'll do organized Gross Deutschland. Yeah, the Gross Deutschland division, and I think it's just like a we'll move that up to the top. Reinforced regiment or whatever now, but so with, you know, we could speculate various building programs that we know Hitler wanted to do, and you know what leaders want to do doesn't always end up being what they do, and not just because a war intervenes. That's a major element of that, but it isn't the only thing that's determining things like that. So, and I don't know if it'd be quite as many immersion events that we do already have for, say, 38 or 39, because we know what happened. But we could do something like that. And nice pictures. and like I'm sort of being distracted while I'm talking here, but how much call there is for it, because I'd hate to build a mod and go, oh yeah, we go all the way to 42 at peace, so we have the Olympics in in Germany and in Helsinki and all of that stuff, and this is costing us a huge amount here. And then we, and build a bunch of other elements of the and then for just 90% or 99% of the people or whatever, they just skip it and go to war. So it's that sort of, element is keeping me from building it. So I don't really want to do that. But yes, I know you don't getting any shipments because of this damn thing. Don't like this. I don't like this. We're going to massively overproduce for a short while. Romania one, most interested in. Okay, we're gonna wait for this one. Okay. Another Jaeger division. I'm looking at these as a likely element of going north, east at first to Norway. Northway. Will probably be short-lived, but good. That improves. We'll shift that to naval bombers. Excuse me, and marine damage control. Is that grayed out? I'm guessing. Yes. Okay. So we've got armor sort of set, pushing into 40. Dual purpose guns. That's a important one as well. At least I like flak 88s, the flak 18s. Okay. First glider. Let's see. Well, we'll wait a day. It's all recalculated. Okay. These have gone down a little bit in cost. That's the primary reason I built those. It's not like a complete waste, but it is something of a waste. Okay, here's Kiddo North. On Bach. Okay, well. No, I don't know. We'll see how we rework this. Okay. Nope, that wasn't long-lived. Okay, somebody stole our blueprints, and we'll no longer receive that money. Okay, SS Reich. Oh, God. Spaces, German. Spaces. Or, you know, dashes, or something in between words. So I got Reich and I got amped at the end. Hauptamp. Okay, got Hauptamp. Which headquarters, over headquarters or something, Hauptamp. So Reich, sick Herr Hinz Hauptamp. Reich, sick Herr Hinz Hauptamp. Oh God, Germans. Okay, SS Obergruppenführer, and the reason I know that is because I know how it's broken up. Reinhard Heydrich is appointed Chief des Reichshauptamts, or RSHA. SS or SD is the intelligence agency of the SS. The SD is one of the oldest security organizations in the SS and was first formed in 1931 as the first C-Dienst, or that's a Roman numeral I there, one operating out of a single apartment and reporting directly to Heinrich Himmler. So it's their early intelligence service. So 900 supplies. Well, at least we have a positive amount of supplies, and we are getting the this. So that is going to be help with all of our SD type units, headquarters and such. Yeah, Panzer Leader's okay, but I prefer not. Oh. Get out of the way. I know these guys are going north at first, but I don't plan on leaving them there. I plan on sending them south into the Mediterranean and other theaters, so keeping that in mind when giving out just sort of basic leadership. Okay. The 188th Reserve Gebirgsjäger Division, which did join the invasion of Yugoslavia, which wasn't a long-planned invasion. No commander. Okay, good. We'll give it one. So it did go see active service, even though it was a reserve unit. That type of training facility. I know the AI doesn't understand this at all, but you need to understand. The side which last sends in his reserves the last is normally the winner. Of course, there is exemptions to that, but historically. So if you are throwing all your forces at the enemy, and because this is, you've played this 10 times or 100 times or whatever it is, you sort of kind of know what's going to happen. Say the Netherlands is not going to declare war on you, so who needs defenses up here? Sometimes, though, it has happened. I have seen the Netherlands join the war early, which normally just means I get to overrun them because I have enough forces here. But it is something to consider, that maintaining a reserve is useful. Okay, the German-Soviet Commercial Agreement, also referred to as the Nazi-Soviet Trade Agreement, was signed in August 19th, 1939, in an economic agreement. Okay, this happens after you do the Molotov Pact, which is we have the opportunity to ask the Soviets to sign an agreement. They will send us 5% of our global resources in exchange for 1% of ICs and 5% money and 3% supply. So we'll get a lot more resources, up by 5%, for some money, supply, and ICs, and we'll go for that. And correct. And I think these are coded to automatically happen. You know, that they agree the historical if there are AI running it. Okay, Hitler's for Tannenberg. Okay, 5% of ICs until November 1st. 5%. Okay, you got this, Hitler. We'll get the Tannenberg. So close to not doing it because that 5%, it's not completely unreasonable, at least for what you get, but part of what I find unreasonable is this level 10 HQ. Well, let's come down to it. There we go, this guy. He gets in charge of the Hitler's headquarters group. Oh, no, no, I didn't need to hit that. To hit here. There we go. Put it right under Hitler's command, his Berghof and his Tannenberg. Berglight. Okay, yeah. Okay, another headquarters. Oh, right, okay, this is another thing I've been waiting for, the Würfelgang troop. Okay, the SSBT division. So we lose all of our, and that's why I've sort of left them where they were. I knew we were going to do it. We lose all of our independent, if you will, VT regiments, and get one rather good division. Their Hauser. Now we also, so we still maintain Liebstandart as well, so we still have that, which wasn't part of the VT. And at this time, it's arguably whether it's part of the Waffen-SS or not. But, you know, is it part of Hitler's security detachment, or is it part of the Waffen-SS? Becomes very much the core of the Waffen-SS, yes. Okay, Polizei division. Basically, this is a police division, and at this time, it is this police division and not an SS division. The big thing I don't like about this is they have one police regiment. It was equipped and set up as regular infantry regiments and sized to be such. A lot of the policemen in Germany were reserve or had either had served time, you know, in the army up, you know, in 36 or 38 or whatever, or are continuing on as reserve soldiers. But so they were properly trained as how to be the guys that were selected for the division initially were properly trained to be soldiers. That was just not their primary job. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to save the game. Okay, we'll call it K. I don't know why, but it is K. Because notice we've gone down to 489. So we're going to change this because of some of the stuff until November. So let's go to full mobilization. And just in case we screw this up, we can go back to our save. 621, that's close. Very close. And so we're going to try to watch this very close, and before the start of November, go back to basic mobilization. Okay, Pioneer Schule in Dessau, its training grounds went operational. So we get this. So there we go. We have some engineering units. Wow, those are going to be tempting to use. And we also have more leadership here. So let's add that. How are we doing on the production front? What we're producing? Okay, good. Yeah, we needed to keep that going. Okay, Jagdflieger, Schul 3. Okay, sure. Supplies, yes, we have enough. Sure. You're massively overproducing, as you can see, yay. Which is what we want to do. Okay, here's Group B Commando, good. Ah, a bunch of torpedo boats. I would have built the hell out of these as Germany, and I'm not looking at this as some sort of gamey spam. Let's just send them over here and then we'll attach them once they get over, like we're going to do with these guys. It'd be easier to find us. There we go. Yeah, much easier that is, yes. Army Commando, listing command, seeing guys along the Siegfried line. A lot of these guys are showing up on the Siegfried line right now. Well, they're not, but okay. I don't know. Nah. Yes, let's do this. Get even more HQs. Oh, we didn't get more HQs. Are they in? They're in production. Oh, wait a minute. Are these HQs or? Oh no, they're just HQs, but they are. Let's move it to the top and just burn through these fast. Okay. And Walter von Reich now. I think I have him commanding a higher thing. This is wrecking my command organization that I sort of did. Sort of did, well I did, but it was just sort of done. Okay, we're back down to 593. There's a group of Commando A, von Rundstedt. Yeah, artillery unit training advanced, good. let's get this going. Mainly getting these guys to help hold Norway, at least in the early days. And we want guys like this. I'm thinking about keeping him, but let's see. No, we can give guys like that. Okay. Well, that's what another thing I've been waiting for. Fleet exhibition. So good. Had enough money to do that. That was part of it. And supplies just barely. Okay, well, let's stop all of these guys. And in last game, by the, getting ready to invade the US, I had run out of these HQs, so I did find a use for all of them, even with building things like the light infantry divisions. With HQs that are well, here we go. Well, let's drop him over here and we'll see who we attach him to. Yeah, so they keep the symbols different. So with building all these get used up at some point. I'll likely build about a big army again at some point. We're at the 20th, and yeah, we've got a lot of stuff still in production here. I'm watching all this very carefully right now. I get to 27, I'm going to drop this back down because I'm thinking the Fuhrer headquarters construction is going to go down, or is going to go away, so that's 5%. Division HQ training 10 plus. Not exactly sure when that goes off, but that'll come off. And those two things alone could shoot things up a bit. Enough to go over, maybe. The Soviet-German agreement will continue, I think, until we go to war with the Soviet Union. Yes. Okay. Formed the Führerschutzpolizei, fire police, I believe. Yes, fire protection police. Consisted of all professional fire departments. Basically, this is not streamlining so much, but streamlining means it's doing more with less kind of thing. No, but standardizing the fire departments and putting them a bit more under police type control and police type stuff. Though they're obviously not necessarily even armed and are primarily fire I'm sure they had a, read that in more detail. You know, partisans were to break out or something, or whatever, they would be used as well. But and there's a security aspect, a control aspect at being police in wartime as well, and just controlling, you know, crowds is not the right term, but controlling people and, you know, bomb damage and other sorts of things. Because even though World War II hasn't happened yet, and there has been ongoing wars in, you know, Spain and such, so they've seen the bombing, and there's been, well, I've watched a few, I'm thinking one H.G. Wells based movie, particularly in Britain, just because, you know, English language stuff. But there was a great expectation that the next war was going to see cities devastated from the air. That was sort of a given. So the Nazis knew that there was going to be bombing, and cities of some of the cities were going to be devastated. How bad did they think it was going to be? I don't know. You know, and however bad it is, it seems terrible at the time, until something worse comes along. And you know, so they're preparing for the idea of this happening. So they're getting ready there. Okay, destroyer training. We're not going to fully give up on naval stuff so long as there are other good things to research here. Okay, we've got submarine, we got destroyer, battleship, or where's cruiser? Cruiser warfare, cruiser crew. Okay, yeah. I guess this already got light cruiser. No? This doesn't cover light cruiser. Oh, light cruiser escort role? No. Carrier crew, light cruiser training. Okay, no, let's do battleship. We've got those two ones. Okay, USSR license to produce the BMW R75 motorcycle. They produced almost 10,000 machines, called it the Euro M72. This shows you how much, not that obviously that, you know, the Soviets could steal and try to reverse engineer a motorcycle from somebody, you know, literally, almost literally, maybe even stealing a motorcycle, but really, in real fact, buying a few, you know, as send somebody to some, you know, whether it's in Germany, in France, in Britain, in the USA, buy some motorcycles, bring them to bring them to the Soviet Union, you know, but buy them as, you know, not saying you're buying them as the Soviet government, but bring them in and try to reverse engineer. But my understanding with this licensed production is Germany helps and sends the equipment, or, you know, major elements of the equipment to actually make the motorcycles, you know, set up the manufacturing in licensed production in the Soviet Union. So this helps out. We gain money and supplies, improves relations, they get an event, but helps out the Soviets. So this is, most people don't understand the level of support Russia got from Germany, as well as Germany got from Russia. That is another sort of thing as well. They both really supported each other. Okay, cavalry division up to the top. Okay. Let's now, just because I want to be overcautious, we're going to go back to basic mobilization. Wait for the first of the month and see how things sort of change. Yeah, to them. Mostly on the grounds, if we're going to do some parachute jumps, we're going to need a large enough group of transports. Also supplying enough supplies in one go. Really make it useful. Okay, well, let's actually drop this down. Well, this is a 28. Oh, well, that's, yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, recon unit. And we're shifting that one up to here. Infantry support weapons. Okay, more recon unit. More infantry weapons. Standing tank this time. I just didn't forget and slip up and not have that right. Okay, lighter, smaller. Garrison force, cheaper. We don't need a really good tank buster guy to command. And still haven't re-put back all of the I know it says the first, but just checking to see if there's other. Oh yeah, KG or general. There we go. But these garrison units may end up also serving in the coast of France or somewhere else. There we go. But putting in here is an acceptable location at the moment. I just want to, yeah, especially since these guys are really weak. We don't, you know, wasting a good general on somebody that a really weak division like this just to me is. Either you build a good division, even a good defensive one, but these are just mostly, here's a few guys standing in the port, don't invade it, you know. Okay, another. Got high popularity. Great. And I also saw the 165th Division, another ersatz division, 5 manpower, training, good. Okay, the second Sino-Japanese War outbreak of the July 30 destroyed much progress and promise made in the nearly 10 years of intense Sino-German cooperation. With the fall of Nanking and the Japanese making further gains, we are now, oh, so this is now finally just happening, I guess. Yeah, we haven't been watching, so they've gotten Nanking finally. Okay, with the fall of Nanking and Japanese making further gains, we are now at the crossroads of deciding between upholding our strong economic ties with the Chinese or siding with the Empire of Japan, which seems to be far more capable of resisting Bolshevik threat in the Far East. This is both a ideological, they convinced themselves, the Nazis did, that somehow the Japanese were some sort of lost Aryan subject peoples. I mean, not that they were Aryans, but they were subject peoples of the Aryans of Thule / Atlantis, and these were like some sort of colonial peoples from there, and so that they and the Tibetans particularly, not necessarily that the Chinese, I don't know, weren't as much, because these people, I don't know, they want to say that they had square heads and light skin as opposed to darker skinned Asians, and it's weird stuff. They wanted to convince themselves of their you know, of things. They very much came to a conclusion and then try to somehow justify it, is as opposed to trying to look at facts. If you're going to be a racist, I'm not suggesting you should be, but if you're going to be a racist, then have some sort of logical viewpoint behind it, or don't be a racist and be a who's more likely to win, so who's more likely we should support. We're going to support China. We're going to stop trade with China, and we're going to support Japan. Talked a little bit about the idea that of having a China path. To do a China path, it's not too hard. It's a bit of work. And what do you do with Japan? And some of the thoughts were, well, if Japan is losing too bad, it would constitute a collapse of the militarist government in Japan, so that a non-militarist, whether it would be democratic or not, I know that it was trying to be democratic, like in 1932, 34, when they killed the prime minister, because he's democratic. The Beijing is back. Are they allied to us in any sort of way now? No, well, not. They're a puppet. Well, because Japan isn't allied to us, but there are, I guess, a puppet of Japan back again. Okay, good. Taken enough territory back. Maybe they notified us. I don't know. Where was I? I'm confusing myself. So that you would have a Japan, whether it gets, and some of the talk is that China fully takes back Manchukuo and Korea or whatever. I don't know whether they would lose Korea. In a practical sense, Japan isn't really gonna, even if say whether Germany or others highly support China, unless you have direct military intervention, as in a major way, like the Soviet Union deciding to come across the Manchurian border and deal with things. You're not really, in my opinion, going to have Japan completely lose, but I could see possibly the idea that this, is stuck partially because of, say, German support in China, and it collapses the government, and the government orders home basically the army, which would probably mean the collapse of Manchukuo. But even the democratic elements, I would say, of Japan really looked as Korea as part of the Japanese empire, because the Japanese still had an emperor, so they had an empire. And things like Taiwan would have been held. So I could see that, take a strong pro-Chinese path that keeps Pearl Harbor from happening, because if you're no longer fighting in China, all of the embargoes from the U.S. go away. And if you don't have a militarist government, you're not looking for a fight with the U.S. So, yeah, I could see that. That would be a very interesting what if, and a reasonable one. Now, of course, you could still, the other what if, and which is a bit harder to do, in my opinion, is, well, what if you support China? China still loses. Now, I know with and we're looking towards Hearts of Iron 4 programming, and you could, even if you get to put in a German expeditionary force in China, it doesn't mean you necessarily get to win, but it wouldn't ever be, I can't ever conceive of a pre-World War II, and then once World War II breaks out, I can't conceive of Germany actively being able to support a direct war against Japan, in which there's, large numbers of German troops, larger than an expeditionary force to China would be. So you may still very well have Japan winning or controlling big enough chunks of China that whether you have some sort of negotiated peace or you just have a stalemated war, what do you do then with a continued U.S. embargo and Japan just declares war on the U.S. and attacks Pearl Harbor? How do you handle that? Because that's what I would still envision as the most likely outcome. I will give a real possibility to the idea that maybe with much greater German support and some expeditionary forces of a few divisions strong, like we saw, and which would have been a very interesting take, actually. Like we saw Italy do to Spain to be a training war, had Germany gone, well, those Japanese suckers, no, we don't like them. We're because they had their sort of pseudo colony up here in China, and we have lots of Germans living abroad, some multi-generational living in China, and we're going with a pro-Chinese, anti-Japanese policy. Let's just say they convinced themselves that the real racial superiority types of Asia is the Chinese, not the Japanese weird islander peoples. I'm just, with the nuttiness of some of their National Socialist beliefs, I could, see them deciding that. And they actually send expeditionary forces. And the rest of the world goes, okay, yeah, these are just Germany defending China. So we're not going to, go to war with Germany. We're not going to put on embargoes on Germany. And they're not claiming any new territory. So, yeah, they're just fighting a war against Japan. And I could see that happening as a real possibility now that I'm thinking of it as well. I mean, not just now, but before. But 2 or 3 divisions of Germans fighting the Japanese does not necessarily change the outcome, because we're not looking at a situation of a Chinese civil war that may also have Soviet or somebody else's backing. Oh, and to get back on that thing, one of the reasons the Ribbentrop-Molotov pact comes about and the additional and greater Soviet-German interaction is because they're no longer proxy fighting each other in Spain. That's another thing. So, which we can see a proxy fight here is if there was a Chinese civil war, which there is, the red Chinese versus, the nationalists. But, so if we were, but the Soviets decided to support the nationalist Chinese because they thought they were most likely to win, and nationalism, well, they thought they could work with them as a pragmatic solution. But if there was, a nationalist versus red civil war, and Germany supporting one and the Soviets supporting the other, that could lead into a greater conflict. But looking against Japan, it could just be, hey, okay, Germans are fighting the Japanese. The Japanese are directly involved in a major way, and they are a major player. They're not up to Germany's standards, but this isn't a, full Germany at war. It's just a few divisions, and their few divisions may be winning, but the sea, around them, maybe literally the sea, but also other fronts, if Japan's doing naval invasions in other places down here and such, the Germans' divisions may be seeing themselves as being cut off, both from, locally, surrounded locally, as well as being cut off from the ability to send in supplies. And I don't mean it because Germany isn't set up like the U.S. was to fly the hump and, hugely air support into China, but they could still, make a few flights coming from, Indochina down here and around, some flying of some air support and flying in a few replacements and, a few spare parts, but they're not going to be flying in tanks or artillery pieces or anything like that, not on any ongoing scale. Because flying in, say, 5 or 10 artillery pieces in parts a month doesn't equate to, it equates to maybe keeping a division sort of kind of going, but doesn't equate to victory. And how much are the French going to actively be seen to support a German-Japanese war that they may get entangled in, where if it's just, small forces. So I could see the overall tide shifting in Germany being on a losing, or if not lost side, but side that's stalemating in the interior much more than even than historical. But then China, if the war breaks out, once the war breaks out here, those German troops are sort of trapped and are no longer going to get supplied from Germany, once the real war here starts. And sure that the German troops would slowly die off, in the sense that they wouldn't get resupply. Now, they might be turned from being German divisions into being German trainers and leaders of other Chinese forces at some point, and trying to do with local supply and maybe even supply from the Allies, who don't want to see China defeated. But what's Japan? So then if you have Japan still in a war with China, and still deep in the war with China, controlling this much or more, and seeing that particularly France falling to Germany, and Britain alone and America in its isolationism, seeing that, oh, well, now we can go to war with some of these other groups and use our navy to wage the war and pick up some of the islands and resources we need. How would that play out? If they attack the U.S., would the U.S. just be at war with Japan, and China as as sort of an ally of the U.S. and sort of an ally of Germany, and the U.S. stay out of a general European war? How would that play that way? And the Western allies, because of Belgium and Britain, are also at war with Japan too, but also at war with Germany? Or would what happens if Japan doesn't attack the U.S. but does, sort of bypass and go around the Philippines and take Malaya and Indonesia and French Indochina and whatnot? Would the U.S. say, "Oh, that's just too much, Japan. We've got to go to war"? And would they go to war with just Japan at that point? See, now this is a different situation as Japan attacking. So this is a more offensive war by the U.S. for maybe defensive purposes. But would that also bring them into war with Germany? When, of course, FDR wants to be in the war with Germany, but the U.S. Congress and most of the American people don't want to be in a war with it. So yes, with the new sort of war score, as well as war support, as well as the stability, national stability kind of thing, which is sort of national unity, but sort of not, but functionally replaces it. So you have low stability in your government. So meaning if FDR goes to war with Germany and there are setbacks, you could see the U.S., not doing so well, and maybe being forced out of the war. So that's sort of the hard thing to do, because if you're going to do this right, and I know from my dealings, and I won't go into it too much, but you're going to have to program it well to get, to do it well with paradox. I won't go much beyond saying that. You're going to have to program it so it, in my opinion, so that it works well, whether there's a Japanese victory or Japanese defeat with China, and just what would it look like, and just how hard is it? It's not perfectly, it's not, too hard to do, but it just, and this is presuming China is in the Axis. So China is a German ally. It's in the Axis. That's sort of the point, is China is an Axis ally. But China wouldn't be wanting to go to war with Britain. It might be neutral in the war with Britain. Or would it go to war with Britain and France and the U.S. while being at war with Japan? But the U.S. is at war with both Japan and China. That's just sort of it's hard, because I'm thinking about supplying and what's the purpose of, I get historical curiosity, and I get what if scenarios and want to play it out. But what does it get Germany? A China that can't industrially support itself. So it's relying upon outside industry. It is making bullets. It is making rifles, though some of those factories that are making rifles and bullets are taken by the Japanese. Some stuff is moved to the interior and continues producing, but it's nowhere near the needs of the army. So without at first coming from the south through here, and then coming through the Burma Road, and then coming from the hump until they get back to, what is it, the Lido Road or some other sort of road into China, until that happens, with all that, that's primarily the U.S., but early on the Western allies as well, trying to keep China alive, and that's how it does it. And it's also just simply sheer size, how much can Japan occupy, as well as what does it need from the interior. It's got the coast and it's got the primary industries. So, but if that is the German ally, that just looks like a plan for a defeat in the east. I just don't see the upsides. Of course, you don't know all of how history is going to happen. So, I don't know. Just an interesting thoughts. But okay, another Totenkopf standard. Where are we? Jenna. Where's Jenna? Here. Okay. Attach you to that. We do have this another training division. Good. Come down here. Let's do a level 2 defensive guy, because we may be using these to defend against some of revolver-held scripted invasions. Okay, because we got through the war games, the air fleet exercise, and the naval exercise, the fleet before the war started, which was partially due to having enough supplies and enough money, we get famous armed forces, which just to sort of show you here, yeah, here it is. It will be turning on in just a second, next day or whatever, as we have it. So we get organizational regain +2, and it's not a lot, but it adds up with other organizational regain things that we'll be getting and everything. So we spent money and supplies training and exercising, and we've improved our armed forces. Okay, Luftkriegschule Thun. Okay, goes into more detail there. You guys can read it. I've just been talking a lot. So, yes, we have the supplies. Yes, we have the money. So we will go with this, and increases our officers, which is nice. And I'm noticing now because of all those headquarters and other things, we have shot up in our forces, shot up in our needs for more officers. And okay, well, we'll do that back up there, damn. And because, like I say, we've been talking a lot and such, I'm going to give myself a break here and end the episode. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I do appreciate that. And also, please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.